Three, two, one, go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Been There segment of the channel, the segment where we talk about other people's experiences in life, love, school, work, and other important situations. My name is George Habib. You all know me. And today I have our guest, Roy. Uh, Say hello, Roy.
Hey George.
Perfect. So, on today, our topic will be a serious one. We will be talking about leaving Lebanon, a country in decline. And I feel like this is an experience Roy can enlighten us on and give us pretty deep insight into, because this is a situation that's affecting millions of Lebanese today. And before we start, Roy, I would like to ask, what is your background?
Hey George. First of all, thank you for the interview. It's an honor for me. My name is Roy Farah. I was born and raised in Byblos City, Lebanon. I come from a modest family. I graduated with a BA degree in banking and finance in 2014. I worked with a humanitarian organization for around 5 years. Then I got into design jewelry until 2019, when the crisis began.
Perfect. So basically, Roy, I want to ask, given that you are clearly educated, you've had high positions, and you've had advances in your career in the past years. After the crisis happened, what is your current working status?
Well, I am currently unemployed due to our current situation,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
And what is that current situation?
The financial crisis.
Hmm. So basically, you're talking about Lebanon's current inflation,
Yeah,
corruption, the banks are closed, no one's able to
exactly.
pull their money out.
Ah,
And it's
totally.
affected you. Do you feel it's affected other people of your generation,
It
other
affects
young
all
professionals?
the generation,
Mhm.
whether the old man or the young man.
Mhm. And this has never happened before, except maybe
No,
during the war.
it's the worst financial crisis over the world by IMF.
By IMF. So
Yeah.
the International Monetary Fund has declared it a big crisis.
Yes.
Okay. And Roy, in your opinion, what is causing this?
What is causing this? Can we talk before what is going on in Lebanon to tell you what is the cause?
You can tell us, like, let us know the background and then what it led to and what is happening now.
Okay, great. Unfortunately, we are dealing with the most corrupted politicians in history.
Mm.
Our regime consists of past warlords, and today they became leaders of mafia groups. The pillars of the country have been fully destroyed by its corrupt leaders. They are starving the Lebanese people, omitting them from the most basic needs. Imagine, George, only the rich can afford being admitted into hospitals. The National Social Security Fund doesn't cover any health issues any longer. There's a lack of the most simple medicine, and some don't exist at all anymore. Let's say cancer, or for example, cancer kidney patient can get their treatments or their meds due to the high prices or the unavailability of medicine. Another issue is how the banks are withholding the people life saving. The dollar is skyrocketing, and also we should not forget the fall of the Beirut explosion on the 4th of August, which shocked the whole world. Yet our own politician didn't even acknowledge or take responsibility for it. They didn't even declare the truth about it. Can you imagine, George?
I can't. I can't imagine happening anywhere I've lived, whether it's the UAE or Canada. It's unthinkable.
Yeah.
How are people coping? Like, how's this affecting people on the streets in your experience?
Well, people they want the change. They go to the streets for revolution. because they cannot afford this situation anymore.
And there's the revolution. What do you mean by revolution?
So people don't want those politicians anymore.
Hmm.
They want the change. They want new version, new Lebanon.
Is it still happening? Is there still protests? Because I remember last year or the year before, there was the Thawra. And for the
Yeah.
viewers who don't know, the Thawra was a movement by the Lebanese people to basically make a revolution, to remove the politicians in power who brought Lebanon to the point where it is today, which is, like you said, Roy, no medicine, no kahraba, no electricity, and I'm assuming there's no jobs.
Yeah.
Or if there is jobs, the money isn't good at all.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the politicians are united.
Mhm. What are they doing? What do you mean by united?
You know, all this is happening first and foremost is because our politicians don't know the meaning of patriotism. They only recognize their own personal interests. They work together hand in hand behind closed doors on dividing the people and creating chaos in the name of religion and pretend to have conflicting views and issues in the open.
Mm.
In addition to that, they created wrong policies that destroyed our country. The most important of them is the Ponzi scheme, which is an investment fraud that started 30 years ago and led the bank bankruptcy and to withholding the depositors' savings and earnings.
So what does that look like for the average Lebanese? What happens what happens to the Lebanese who before the crisis they had their savings? What happened to the savings?
uh, what they cannot earn their money from the banks anymore.
So they cannot withdraw their money.
No, they cannot withdraw their money anymore, unfortunately.
So tell us, for the viewers who aren't from Lebanon, when you go to a bank and let's say before the economic crisis you had $5,000. Let's say you want to pull out $5,000. What happens?
You cannot anymore.
What do they tell
You
you?
like you can by new rules on Lebanese pound, and it's haircut by 70%. So each 1,000 you can get it on Lebanese pound around $300.
Hmm. But they tell us that yeah.
Even less, even
But
less.
Roy, they tell, from what I see from the government, they still tell us every dollar is 1,500 lira.
Yeah,
But then you go
because
on the streets and it's not.
it's not. It's like 27,000, 28,000.
Mhm.
It's not stable. Yani the currency has lost 90% of its value and still going.
Jeez. It's
Yeah,
not good at all.
unemployment rates are still on the rise, and companies are going bankrupt and closing.
Right. And how is that affecting work? So the savings are gone. If you had
Yeah,
money in the bank, khalas, it's gone.
it's gone. Unfortunately, yeah.
Mhm. And I know the government, they promise they'll give it back one day, but let's be honest, it's gone. I
Yeah,
know
yeah, it's gone.
people, they saved all their life. They had good interest rate from the bank, so they put all the money in the bank, and now it's gone.
Yes, yes. They didn't even think to make capital control
No.
since the first week of the crisis.
Mm.
They decided after 2 years to establish a new capital control, but it doesn't work.
What's the control? What do you mean?
Capital control.
Mm. So like they're trying to control the money.
Yeah, but there's no money anymore.
Yeah. And how is this? Okay, so the bank savings gone. The value of the dollar, and not the dollar, yeah, read the dollar. The value of the
$1.
lira is gone.
Yeah.
How
Has
does
lost 90% of its value, as I said before.
Hmm. How does this affect people who are working now?
Yeah. The inflation rate has increased to the point where purchasing power has shrunk by 95%, while the minimum wage has become the equivalent of above $24.
Hmm.
The most basic needs have become a privilege to have chicken meat, fish, even vegetables have become too pricey to afford.
Mm. So how do people cope? How do people deal with it? It's been 2 years.
Well, to be frank, people are getting through with even less than the basic minimum requirement possible.
Mhm.
على قد يعني. It's too
Are
hard.
are they looking for help from their cousins or friends outside of Lebanon? Are they supporting each other?
Sure.
Mm.
Otherwise, people had died since 2 years ago without the financial support from outside Lebanon.
Mm. Again, I just can't imagine. Like, this is the case you read in history books, how it happens in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, countries where economies completely collapsed. For me, Roy, I don't know about you, but I never imagined it would happen to Lebanon, even with all the problems we've had so far.
Our crisis is worse than Venezuela, if you know.
Because at least that I wouldn't know the difference, but I would assume like Venezuela has food.
It's so simple. Venezuela has fuel.
Mm.
Lebanon has nothing as raw material. I mean,
And there's no other industry because the government has never developed or invested.
yeah, and it was based on Ponzi scheme.
Hmm.
There is no productivity.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, a Ponzi scheme is basically where a person, it's like a pyramid scheme. A person keeps taking money from you, taking money from you, promising to return some of it, piece by piece. So you think it's a good investment. But by the time it comes to a proper return on your investment, there's no money. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually it's done by companies.
Yeah.
This is the first time it's done by Lebanese government.
And I'm assuming they've been doing it for years while we were all distracted.
Yeah.
So that's happening with all of Lebanon. I
Yeah.
want to ask now, Roy, what's happening with you? How is the situation in Lebanon affecting your work? Because you said before you were involved in jewelry.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this, like how it's affecting?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I told you before, the national currency has lost 90% of its value and still going. Unemployment rates are still on the rise, and companies are going to be bankrupt or closed.
Mhm. And what about you? What happened to your work, your job?
Uh, there is no demand anymore
Because no one
on
can
my
afford
job
jewelry.
because it's in dollars currency, you know. So people they prefer to avoid buying jewelry and buying food.
Mm. So they avoid jewelry to buy food.
Yeah, because it's a luxury item.
And how
It's
did it
not.
feel? And how did it feel for you, Roy? You worked in like what is a basically such a prestigious job. You handled gold, you handled diamonds, you dealt with the rich of Lebanon, things like this. How does it go from seeing the top of Lebanon, the wealth, and now to the point where no one can afford any of that? How does it feel?
يعني, you feel so sad about what happened for our country.
Mhm.
You feel so sad and broken from inside. Imagine you are in the high level,
Mhm.
and then you are fully broken.
I can't imagine. That's my point. I cannot imagine. I'm Lebanese, but I haven't grown up as Lebanese. My parents have taken me to another country, and I love them for it because I cannot imagine being in Lebanon. I I cannot imagine being strong like you and many people in Lebanon and surviving all this. I'm very spoiled by comparison.
Yeah, and we have to fight to the end.
Inshallah.
We should not give up.
MashaAllah. Okay, so with work, at what point did you have to leave the work? Because you said people stopped buying. So did the company shut down?
Well, it was a freelance job.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if I want to continue, uh, I have many expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to make a stop loss.
Okay. Okay. So do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And I know right now you're going through a loss. So my condolences for that. Uh, ha- Aside from that, how has this affected your family? Like before, when you come home, I'm assuming everyone was happier, everyone was not focused on surviving. What is the situation now?
Uh, there is no one comfortable from inside anymore. Everyone is tired. Uh, Everyone he wants or she wants to leave this country. She doesn't want it anymore. Without basic needs, there is no rights for them. You cannot go for hospital due to high expenses medication or
So there's no hope.
yeah, unfortunately.
Do you feel like it's unfortunate there's a crisis, but is this something that is bringing the community together, the village? Is everyone supporting each other how they can? Are they sharing food? Are they trying to motivate each other, or is that not happening?
And it's very limited because each family has its own problem
Hmm.
or obstacles
So
they
they're
are
focused on
facing.
their own survival.
Uh,
Because I asked this, Roy, because even though you say that it's limited, I noticed you online, you are supporting people, you are doing charity work, and you are helping those in need. Could you tell us
yeah,
more about that side of what you're doing?
about the initiative,
The initiative, yes.
yeah, sure. Uh, well, since the beginning of the crisis, we have been standing together, helping each other through. We started our first initiative in 2019, and we attained great success by being extra transparent and accurate, which led us to plan more than 10 similar initiatives. People trusted us and were happy to donate and help. And here we were taking the role that the government ignored, although it is supposed to be its own responsibility. I mean, the government here.
Yeah. So basically, the government's supposed to provide you with like help. They're supposed to be providing us with infrastructure, roads, and transportation. They're supposed to be providing us with electricity. They're supposed to at least make sure the economy did not collapse so we can all live our own lives, and they're not doing it.
Exactly.
So, in the absence of that, you, I believe, and other people like you are trying to do your best to support people.
Ah,
You're trying to take place of a government that has failed.
in some way,
Yeah. And what are the difficulties with this? What struggles in شو كان في صعب when you were doing this charity, this philanthropy?
well, there's nothing hard when you have the will or the desire to make something. Uh, for me, I didn't have any problem unless the financial support
Mm.
or the fund.
There's no donors, there's no,
There- No.
yeah.
As you see, it was based on transparency.
Mm. Yeah, I know there's lots of people, they want to donate, they want to support Lebanon, especially Lebanese people, but beyond sending money to their family through Western Union or Cash App or things like this, they don't trust to give their money because in the beginning I remember There was many people, they called themselves charity, but it
exactly,
was the same politician taking the money,
exactly.
and
It
very
was
little came to
it
the
was
people.
imposed support by government, and
Because I
it's
know people
fully
would. Oh, go
and
ahead,
it's
please.
fully corrupted. Huh?
It's fully corrupt.
Yeah,
Because I remember in the beginning, people would send money, send items, and then there's no receipt, the money disappears.
they
No,
steal it.
yeah, there's no guarantee it reaches the people. And then
Mm.
when there's stories where the UN donates for free. And then you find the food in a shop being
Yeah,
sold for money
outside Lebanon, not inside.
outside Lebanon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
The
have the government when
Netherlands, the video posted, and in Africa.
in Africa come in. I remember
It was,
that
yeah,
powdered milk meant for Lebanon, donated by UN, sold to Africa by someone.
yeah,
Yeah, and I remember also the government would try to make fuel cheaper, but then people would buy a lot of the fuel before the normal people can buy it, and then it goes to another country.
so-
Since it's crazy.
yeah.
It's as if the government ruined everything, and then when they help, it just makes things worse, whether on purpose or not on purpose.
Oh, it's on purpose.
I try to give benefit of a doubt, but I cannot disagree with you, Roy.
Why?
Okay, so with all these problems, we've got let's be honest, a possibly corrupt government to give benefit of a doubt. There is, what's the electricity situation?
Well, I'm hoping that with the elections comes change, and we get rid of the current regime and create a new Lebanon built on civil rights and patriotism. That's what
Inshallah,
we
bro.
hope. Inshallah.
Inshallah, change can be good or it can be worse. But what I wanted to ask, كيف الكهرباء, electricity?
Uh, 1 hour per 24 hours.
1 hour per 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm honored you give us some of your electricity for this interview.
Well, by a generator.
You generate? And that's very expensive.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, the situation in Lebanon regarding electricity was never good. There was always promises to provide cheap electricity 24/7, but even before the economic crisis of, I believe, 2-3 years ago, there was no guarantee of electricity. People had to have generators anyways. And these generators cost a lot of money in terms of the fuel. So
Especially
now,
now,
go ahead, Roy.
especially now, the fuel has increased.
All around the world, but extremely high in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Okay, so from electricity, let's go to the fuel. How are people getting fuel?
Well, people, they don't go anywhere anymore unless if it's urgent due to the high price of fuel.
Because there's long lines. I remember looking at videos of gas station, there's really long lines. And when
Yeah.
you reach the gas station, there's no guarantee there's fuel.
Now it's gone
So not
because
even
the fuel,
lines.
yeah, because the fuel has increased.
Mm.
So خلاص.
It increased even though the government promised it would not increase.
Yeah.
Do you find people are walking more as a result? And I saw some people with horses and donkeys.
Yeah. No, they are buying bikes nowadays or by walking.
Mm. But as a result, they can't go far. They can't even go to their work because
Uh,
you cannot walk from Mitilana. I live in Bremena. You cannot walk from Bremena to Beirut.
yes,
It's far and it's dangerous, Kaman.
مظبوط.
But now it seems like the crime is happening everywhere. And
Yeah.
do you feel it's because people who were criminals before are taking advantage, or people are desperate?
No, people are desperate because زياد رحبيني بيقول كلمة كتير حلوة
Mhm.
بالعربي، إنه أنا مش كافر بس الجوع كافر.
شو يعني كافر؟
يعني بيلعن.
Steal?
لا يلعن يعني بيسب، إنه أنا يعني I'm a good guy but when I am poor I won't be good guy anymore. I want
Okay.
to survive my family.
Okay. And like that is a very difficult concept, and of course take care of your family, but you're damaging another family. Oh, it's a we're going to move on to the next subject, but it's a very big shame that the government in Lebanon put the Lebanese in a situation where they have to do whatever they need to take care of their family, but whatever they need to do takes away from another family.
It's very big shame.
عيب الشوم عليهم. Shame on the government for this. So
Totally
now,
agree.
so now I want to take the focus away from Lebanon, and I want to ask you, Roy, because am I correct? You are moving to another country for work.
Yes.
Okay. And to do that, at some point in Lebanon, you had to say enough. When in Lebanon did you look at everything, the situation, the crisis, the people, and you said, "Khalas, enough. I have to leave."
Uh, I haven't said and will not say enough. Even though we are going through the hardest time possible, I'm not willing to give up on my country. I will always find a way for any obstacle or problem.
Hmm. That's a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
Or even though it seems, like I said, I cannot imagine. Even though it seems like everything is going really hard in Lebanon, to have this mentality from you, it makes me feel like there is still some hope. So
Always there.
So given that it's not the attitude of enough, it's rather the attitude of hope, and I'm assuming to take care of your family, what made you decide to travel elsewhere to work?
Because we have always looked for our future and stability. Unfortunately, in this country, there is no future.
And finding that job, was it difficult? How long did it
Yes.
take you?
Well, it was by chance.
Mhm.
I went for a conference and I applied for this job by chance.
Mm.
They made an interview and then they said, okay, you get the job.
And so now they're going to hire you and you'll travel there.
Yes.
Is this something many other people are facing in Lebanon? Because I read somewhere in an article that more than 50% of Lebanese want to immigrate. They want to leave.
Not 50. Sorry to say that, it's 80.
80.
80%.
And I'm assuming it's not because they want to leave, but they need to leave because they can't survive.
Yes,
Okay.
they are going to survive.
And what difficulties did you have trying to find a job before you found it? Okay.
The job search is like searching for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
If you find a job, the salary they pay doesn't cover transportation expenses.
Hmm.
I didn't find anything, but us Lebanese people, I mean, are hustlers. We always find ways to get through.
That's true. That's true. Even before this crisis, even during the Civil War in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even then the Lebanese had like the spirit of traveling so they can make a better future.
Exactly.
The thing is, Roy, I believe like go ahead.
There is 4 million Lebanese in Lebanon and 14 million abroad.
I think it's more. Mostly Brazil.
Yeah,
Because, like, yeah, I feel like Lebanese people, even though we leave, because many of us leave and many of us have families who left, we always want to come back. But now I feel it's difficult because when we come back, what is there to come back to?
يعني it will be hard for them, especially if they have nothing to be based on Lebanon.
Yeah. صح. Okay. And so back to the job search. While you were searching for the job, did you realize anything? Was there any realization?
Uh, that our politicians should either be in jail or executed in Martyr Square without prior verdict. That's
I think we should execute them, then put them in jail.
كمان بتصبح.
No rest for the wicked. Yeah. So now we are going to a bit to the conclusion of the video. I want to ask you, Roy, what hopes do you have for the future? Because even though everything is looking down and painful and sad, hard and hopeless, you still seem to be surviving. You don't seem like, just talking to you, Roy, it doesn't seem like you gave up on yourself, at least.
Yeah, and we should not, each one of us, not only me.
What hope do you have for the future? What do you hope will happen?
Well, I am hoping that with the elections come change and we get rid of the current regime and create a new Lebanon built on civil rights and patriotism.
And just for some clarification about the election, what is happening with the election? I know this election is special because there's lots of independence, not like before with parties and their people.
Exactly.
Do you think there'll be a big shift?
Let me give advice to someone
Please.
or to our people, if you may accept.
Yeah.
I want to send this message. I want to send this message to everyone. Stop worshiping any leaders and start being the change. And remember that the politicians work for us and not the our way around. Don't think of personal interest. Think of the country's interest as a whole, because that's when the country will thrive, and so will its people. We should all unite together, regardless our religion, views, or anything else.
I agree. I agree. I feel the politicians have kept this country divided.
Yeah,
As you and I and many other Lebanese, we look at the Lebanese people and we find an amazing people because everywhere you go, Lebanese are very successful. They become
exactly.
celebrities, they become businessmen, they become doctors, lawyers, engineers. We have Carlos Slim, even though he's mostly Mexican, but we like to think he's Lebanese and successful. We have Shakira, Salma Hayek, Kilhol. We have all these people who either they or their families have left Lebanon and then they became massive successes, South America, North America, Europe, Australia, East Asia, Africa. But somehow, even with all this success around the globe, not in Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanese people are success outside Lebanon because there is no support inside Lebanon from the government.
Yeah. And it's depressing. It's depressing. Everywhere around the world, Lebanese people thrive. They become massive communities. They make huge businesses. I think they make other people's lives better by opening shawarma shops. That's my personal experience.
Manouche.
Manouche, shawarma, knefe, all these delicious foods, hummus. But then in Lebanon, it's such a contradiction. When they want to open a business, there's no support from the government. There's no electricity, there's no internet. And then even with all these things, even when despite all these things, they manage to make some success, either the government or criminals or local people, they come in, they want a piece of the pie, but they don't want to give to the success.
مظبوط.
And then in other countries, Lebanese people are some of the most friendly people in the world. They're friendly to their Western neighbors. They make parties. They give gifts. They do the debke. They make festivals. And then in Lebanon, we don't trust our neighbor.
Due
And then
to due to those corrupt politicians, they divide the people.
they poison the hearts. They poison the goodwill.
Yes.
They put us in a situation where, if you agree with me, we want to help Lebanese. We want to support each other, but now we don't trust each other. It's a big shame. And now, Roy, based on your experiences in Lebanon and finding a job in another place, what advice do you have for the people in your situation?
Well, as I said before, stop worshiping any leaders and start being the change.
So they should focus on themselves.
Yes.
Okay. And this is maybe a difficult question, or it's an easy one, depending on what you think. Roy, even though you're leaving even though you found work somewhere else, and I'm going to assume you're going to go there, work hard, be successful. Once you achieve that success and stability, will you ever come back to Lebanon?
I have no idea.
Mhm.
I have no idea. I might go back just to visit my family and my friends. But for stability, I have no idea if I
Yeah.
want to stay or not.
Do you feel this was the same question our parents, our grandparents asked after the war, the Civil War? Or do you feel this is different?
Yes, because we are living in a war now.
What kind of war? Between who?
Between the corruption and the good people, they want to build a new Lebanon.
And inshallah, Roy, this I hope in my heart. I hope the people win.
Hope so. In the end, we will win.
I agree. Because the thing is, when the government wins, we see it. We see what the result is. It's a catastrophe. Despite all their nice words, despite the platform, when the government wins, the current government in Lebanon, this is the result. Failure of economy, infrastructure, depression, and a rise in crime. Oh, that brings us to the conclusion of our video. Roy, do you have any final words for our viewers who are Lebanese, Arab, foreign, anywhere in the world? Do you have any last words?
We have to change. We have to elect the right people. And as I said before, stop worshiping any leader and start being the change. Lebanon need every one of us.
Perfect. I appreciate your time, Roy. To
Thanks,
Roy,
Habib.
I would like to thank you for joining this channel. And I know it's difficult with the current situation. I would like to thank you for your words, for sharing your experience with us. And I would like to thank you a lot for allocating some electricity to support this interview, because that's very difficult right now.
Don't thank me. It's my pleasure.
We appreciate you. And to the viewers, I want to say thank you for being with us. Thank you for taking time out of your day for watching our interaction. Please like and subscribe and stay in touch for more guests like Roy, guests who give us their insight and who hopefully inspire us like I'm pretty sure we have been inspired today. If you guys want to know more about Roy, if you guys have any further questions for Roy, please comment down below in the comments and we will see if we can get back to you in regards to that. And again, thank you, Roy, for being with us. Thank you for your time. And this episode is now over. Have a great day, everybody, and Don't be too hard on yourselves.